Okay girls, so in this video we're going to look at penalty corners, and the reason why we're going over this video is because we need to make sure that our penalty corners are perfect. Alright, when we come up against these strong teams, we need to make sure that every time we get a penalty corner, we're using it to the best of our advantage and we're executing and scoring goals from them. Alright, so what we're going to look at are just slight things that can make our penalty corners better. And throughout Term 3 leading up to AIMS, penalty corners is something we're going to spend a lot of time on because we need to make sure they are perfect. Alright, so let's watch the first one and then we'll analyse it. Okay, so let's just rewind that and then we'll watch it again and analyse. Okay, so the things I want to go over in this one is possibly the line that Jess is running here, but also the angle and pickup of you, Georgia, with your drag, okay, because we need to make it a little bit faster, because as you can see the first runner gets out to us pretty quickly and we can't get our pass away. Alright, so girls, this is the number 3 when we drag to the post, and I think the first thing that I want to make very obvious to you is the angle that Jess is running here. And this is something that I want Jess, Lottie, to really focus on here, because thinking about going to AIMS, we're not going to have Alice and Abby, who are usually the ones that will fill this position. Alright, so focusing really carefully on this one, but also anyone else who might be playing up front. Alright, so I think the biggest thing I want to work on with Jess here is running your angle you're running. Instead of running this angle here, I want you starting here and running this angle here. Okay? Because if we run straight on like this, when we receive the ball, it's just going to come off our stick and continue rolling straight. Okay? But if we run this angle here, the ball's going to come off our stick and go towards the goal. Okay? Basically, pretty much meaning if we're standing outside of the goal and running this line here, when the ball hits our stick, it's just going to keep going straight and go past the goal. Okay? So we want to be running and standing outside of the goal, okay, outside the line of the post, and then lunging in and deflecting, which will cause the ball to angle towards the goal. So that's the first thing, is that angle that person's running there if you're on the post. Let's go forward a little bit and look at the pickup from Georgia and also the drag that you do. Okay, so it's really, really important that by this position here, you have pretty much picked up the ball. So Katie, as soon as you've trapped it, you need to let Georgia pick up the ball straight away. Alright, so with these drag ones, so 3s and 4s, you don't need to push the ball anywhere. So as soon as you take that ball off as soon as you take your stick off the ball, George, you need to pick it up straight away. Alright, so at the moment we're picking up too late. Alright, and you'll see in the next video that you picked it up a lot earlier. And I think what happens, the big culprit, or why we're picking up too late, is because the angle that you're standing on. Okay, so basically we want the ball to come over here, which means that, as you can see, when we go forward a little bit more, you come right around here and then pick it up, so you're in a position where you can drag it that way. Alright, so as a suggestion, it might be better if you start over here, so all you have to do is run on an angle forward. You'll be able to pick up the ball a lot earlier and get the ball away a lot earlier. If we continue watching here, we can see that you come right around and you only drag it when you get right around here. As you can see, that first runner is a lot close to you, yeah, and it's hard if you get your pass away. Alright, so just as an option, is instead of standing, if we just reverse a little bit, instead of standing straight on like you are there, start over here. So all we have to do is run on an angle towards, alright? And we can get that first, we can get someone, like I think that's Maddie there, we can get them standing where you are now, so it looks like they're the ones that's going to hit it. So it's not going to be obvious, alright? It's just going to get you in a better position. Last thing I want us to think about here is also, as you can see, the second runner goes on this line here, alright? So there's another option here. If we continue going forward a little bit more, we can see that we've got an actual option to drag to our injector on this side. Alright, so after the first one we do number 3, we might firstly go to this post here. Alright, then we might realise, okay, the first runner is going to smother that next time. Let's try the number 3 again, but let's try going this way. Alright, so it's the same concept applies. We're just dragging it to the other way and dragging it to the injector rather than the runner on the wing here. Alright, just a couple of things to think about with that one and a couple of ideas to make us execute that one a little bit faster. So Georgia picking up the ball earlier, and also in a position where you don't have to move around the ball to get into a position where you can drag it. Alright, so let's move on to the next one. Okay girls, so this is a good example of a number 4. Okay, so let's rewind that and then we'll analyse. Okay girls, so why I've picked on this one is because it's one that isn't executed properly. Alright, and I think it's really important to know what we have to do when one doesn't work the way we want it to. And I think this is a really important one because when we do this number 4 and we try and drag square, it's a very hard move to execute, and it's not going to come off every single time. There are going to be the odd times where it doesn't come off. Now, this could have been done a little bit better if there was communication. All right, so if we drag forward, we can see, and you can see, George, you pick up a lot better there. We can see that the drag's made. Now, what I'll be doing here is Jess, I'll be calling for the ball, and it's this idea of communication. I go on every week about communication and how we need to communicate. All right, this idea of communication, Jess, all you need to do there was trap and hit in the circle at the goal there. But instead, Georgia, you pick it up and you try and drag onto your forestick. All right, and by doing that, we're giving the tacklers time to get back and to trap the ball. All right, so what I would have done here is Jess, I would have called for the ball and taken it yourself because you're in the better body position. All right, so it's this idea of communication. All right, but instead she traps it herself. Now look what we've got. What Georgia tries to do here is the massive swing. We do not have time. If we muck up our penalty corner, we do not have time to be taking another massive swing. All right, so we have to re-establish ourselves and think about what we can do to make this better. All right, so what I'll do about and talking about that, passing in the goal mouth, passing in the circle, and moving the goalie around. Yeah, so what we could have done here is Georgia could have passed to Katie, and then Katie could have taken a shot. All right. Having said that, though, I think Katie, you're playing right wing. You probably should have been on the post in this situation. But what I'll talk about at the end of the video is about how we should have halves up in here as well. So she should be up, she should be up. And almost she should be up as well to support us in that circle. Although we're taking the penalty corners, we need support, so if the ball's hit out, we can hit it back in. Alright, but you have to remember, girls, that we outnumber them in the circle. Alright, so they've got 4 defenders, one who'll be on the post, alright, over here, which is this one here. So really we've got 3 people who are out in the circle, so we outnumber them every time. So if we can make those quick passes in the circle, if things go wrong, we've outnumbered them, so we have space to pass, alright? And as you can see here, we have an option to pass, and then Katie has room to come over here and then take the shot herself. Alright, but then George, if you picked up there, as he did, you had a passing option here, and then Jess could have taken the shot. Okay, but I think the obvious thing was here the communication was lacking, but also looking at the options you have available. So if one doesn't go to plan, alright, and we'll look at that a little bit later in the video, when one doesn't go to plan, but it actually works out properly for us, is look to pass throughout the circle. We outnumber them in the penalty corner, so use that to our advantage if things don't go right. Alright, hopefully that makes sense. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, cool, so this is a good example. I popped it in there of a number 5 to Lottie. Alright, and this is the one we score a goal. It's just fantastic, alright? You'll see that I think the most successful penalty corner play we've had is this number 5. Alright, so let's use that to our advantage. You can see as the play goes on, the first runner comes out here and then she comes around. So it gives us that little bit more time for Lottie to take her shot. Alright, so let's just watch it. I don't really have much to say about it. There's a couple of things that I'll talk about at the end. But basically I just want you to appreciate the play here, alright, because I think it's quite cool. Alright, so just one thing that I really want to make obvious, and this goes for anywhere on the on the field, sorry. So if we just rewind, alright, so what I really like about this is how Lottie traps it, and she angles her body out this way so the ball comes out that way as well, alright? And as we can see, if we continue going forward, she shifts the ball over here by doing this trap, by letting the ball move along her stick, and she's getting herself into a better position, or more straighter position, to take her shot. Okay, which is really, really cool. And this can be used anywhere on the field. So instead of trapping it, all we do is angle our body where we want the ball to go, and the ball roll off our stick in that direction. That's what we've done here, and Lottie's given herself and set herself up with a good shot. What I also like about Lottie here is instead of shooting for this angle here where the goalie is, if we just continue going forward when the goalie comes out, yep, so the goalie's facing that right post like we talk about in the passing in the goal mouth video. She shoots for the far post. Alright, and we're shooting to this player's reverse side. We're not giving the goalie a chance to save it because we're shooting to her far post. Alright, if anything, Abby, you probably want to get, as the shot comes, you probably want to be getting in front of your player. Alright, just so if the ball was hit out there, which it quite possibly could have been, you're in front of your player and you're able to deflect it. Alright, if we're standing beside them, we're giving ourselves less chance. So as that ball's hit in, the player playing the wing, make sure as it's getting hit, you're getting in front of your player, so we're not giving them time to trap it, we're giving us time to deflect it. Alright, so that's just a fantastic little play there and a good goal off that number 5 penalty corner. Alright, so let's move on to the next one. Okay guys, so we've already actually looked at this one in the passing and the goal mouth video, so we're really not going to go on about it too much. But what I really want us to see here is, obviously Lottie doesn't trap it properly, alright, but we're able to recover it, and make these short passes in the circle, which is what I've talked about in the, not the previous clip, but the clip before, when George did the square drag that didn't quite work. So it's this idea of, okay, we didn't execute properly, however we'll outnumber them in the circle, we'll make short passes, and then we'll score a goal. Alright, so there's not actually much I want to analyse with this one. In fact, I'm not going to analyse it. Alright, I just want you to appreciate this whole passing in the circle thing if the trap doesn't go properly. So let's just watch it. So as you can see, Lottie doesn't trap it properly. Instead, she doesn't take a shot. She makes a short pass to Katie. Katie makes a short pass to Georgia. And then we take the shot at goal. And as you can see, we outnumber them. Yeah. So this player here is never going to mark someone because they're on post. All right. So their job is the left post. All right. So as you can see, we've got a free runner here. All right. Which is a free option. All right. And we also had a free person there before she got the ball and this person moved on to her. Okay, the only thing I would say is here is Georgia, make sure, and Anna especially, and also somebody else, so I'm going to make an injector as well, making sure that if we are an injector, we are moving to that post straight away. Alright, nobody will really be marking you, but you need to be making sure you're on that post. We're not doing, and you'll find that especially with our plays that we've got at the moment, none of them are really big hits. Alright, so don't be scared about being on that post because none of them are going to come at you flying. Alright, so you just got to make sure you're on that post, and we probably missed out on a goal there because you weren't on the post. Alright, so as soon as the injector takes the ball, pushes the ball out, you sprint to that post and take that post position. Alright, that's all I really want to talk about in that one, so let's move on to the next one. Okay girls, so let's watch this one, and it's another number 5, and the reason why I'm going on about this one a lot is because you guys use this one a lot, so it's really important that we do it properly. Alright, so let's watch it. I want you to see the shot that Lottie makes and the angle that she shoots at and tell me whether that's good or not. And I also want to look at the positioning of Georgia and Alice, I think it is. Alright, so let's watch and see what happens. Okay, so let's rewind and we'll watch that again and analyse. Okay, so I think the first thing to look at here is the shot that Lottie takes. Alright, now Lottie, we will go over this because this is one we're going to use every time, so it's really important that we are getting it right. Alright, good drag out. Again, good trap Lottie, getting yourself into a good position. Alright, now what happens here is you take a shot, and we'll go over Alice and Georgia in a minute. We take a shot, but we shoot it towards that towards the goalie, and it's this idea, again, going back to that passing in the circle video, is if we're going to shoot from the top of the circle here, we've lined up the goalie. Alright, so if we are going to shoot from the top, which is fine, alright, make sure we're shooting to that far post. We're making the goalie move and not being able to line up the shot. Instead, we shoot straight at the goalie, and we're giving them all that time from the top of the circle to line up and save, and that's bread and butter stuff for the goalie. Alright, so making sure that when we take our shot, we're shooting to that far one, like we did when we scored the goal, and that's why we scored the goal, because we shot to far post. Alright? Anna, again, as you can see, you're probably a little bit far away from post, only slightly. Alright, so as you see that ball going towards the goalie, like here, you should be starting to come in front of the goalie, maybe just knock it with your stick, block the goalie's vision so you can give yourself a better chance, alright? Because at the moment, the goalie's always going to save that one. So if that happens again, Georgia or Anna, alright, and you can see that ball going straight to the goalie, try getting in front of the goalie, just giving a little nudge on, and maybe slotting it through that gap there. Alright, this will also block their goalie's vision, alright? Now let's rewind a little bit, and let's look at Georgia and Alice. Now obviously we're lacking Katie, which mucks up our structure a little bit. But I think it's really important that when we come in the circle, and even now when we're waiting, so if we rewind a little bit more, even when we're waiting for the ball, it's about you two knowing, or whoever's at the top of the circle, knowing what your positions are. Alright, because as you can see here, as the ball comes forward, we both commit inside the circle. Alright, and again it's this idea that we are going to get the halves moving up, alright, to the top of the circle. So if the ball is hit out, we can hit it back in straight away. But as you can see, we hit the ball, and you've both committed to the dot or inside the circle. Now one of you needs to say, alright, I'll take the dot. So Georgia, it looks like you were taking that roll there, so you should have been on that dot there. And Alice, you should have been staying near the top of the circle. Alright, that'll give Lottie an offload pass if she needs it, if she gets in trouble. So then you can take the shot. Alright, so it gives that backing. But also, as we can see here, as we come forward and the goalie hits it out and the defenders hit it out, we've committed two players close to each other. Alice, if you're at the top of the circle there, we can hit that ball straight back in. But instead, we're cramped up in this little area here, okay? And the ball's gone past us and outside the circle. Luckily, we had Jamie there to bring it back in. But it's like this idea, girls, that we outnumber them in that circle, especially in the penalty corner, so we want to use the space to our advantage. Alright, so none of this cramping up here. One person on the circle, and then if there's another person, know where you are. So before or while you're waiting for the penalty corner, know what each other's roles are. Alright, if we don't have our combos set. Alright, and it's probably the most important when Lottie's taking the shot is know who's taking the dot, know who's going to stay back for an offload pass from Lottie if she needs it, but also up there in case the defenders hit it out. Alright, so it's just the idea that we need to be using that circle to our advantage and spreading out so we have those short passes available if, you know, if the first one doesn't go to plan. Alright, for example, if I go back, so let's say again Lottie maybe bobbled it and it didn't work, alright, like in the, was it the previous clip? Yep. Then if Alice and Georgia are there, she doesn't really have a passing option. However, if Alice stood further back or at the top of the circle there, then she's given that passing option available. Alright? And then Alice could then pass to Georgia on the dot. Alright, so it's this idea of getting into position. Now the last thing I want to talk about, and this is all the clips that we're gonna look at, but it's going to be really, really important now. I don't want it to be a shock for you guys, but we're going to have more halves pushing up inside the circle so we can really outnumber them as much as possible. Now, they're not necessarily part of the plays in the penalty corner, but it's just having them there as support. So if we do want to make a short pass to them, if penalty corner doesn't go our way, alright, then we have them available. But it also means we've got more reinforcement at the top of the circle here. So if the defence does hit it out, we've got people at the top who can just smack it back in. Alright, we want to outnumber them as much as possible in the penalty corners. Alright, and as you can see with that one that didn't go so well for Lottie and she made the pass to Katie and then Katie made the pass to Georgia, that's a good example of those short passes. We've outnumbered them and we should have probably scored a goal off that one. Alright, so hopefully that's just a couple of things to think about in terms of those penalty corners. The probably last one's just a little bit nitpicky. Alright, but just a couple of things to think about when we're taking these penalty corners because we need to make sure that we're executing them properly. Alright, cheers girls.